the last diminisher method versus the moving knife method. Let's talk fair division and two different ways to do that. So first, let's talk about the last diminisher method. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's used to divide continuously divisible items among a group of people. Now, remember that continuously divisible items mean something that you can chop up in a bunch of different ways, and it doesn't change the item. So think about the candy bar. We can cut that into halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, whatever, and it's still a candy bar, right? So that's fine. We can still use that. Whereas a discrete divisible item is like a t-shirt. If I cut that in half, I no longer have a t-shirt, right? Okay, so continuously divisible items. The process of this is we're diminishing something, right? Last diminisher. So the participants are randomly ordered. So this could be like you give everybody maybe a playing card and you go highest to lowest, or maybe you go by birthdays or what, just some random order. Then the first person in line marks a slice they deem as fair. So let's say there are 4 people and we're cutting up a candy bar. So the first person is like, I'm going to make a cut, like put a slice on it of this is what I think is a fourth. Each person then evaluates that slice. So if the next person comes up and says, yeah, I think that's good, whatever, and they go in turn. If they think that's a fair slice or less than fair, they pass, right? So they go up and say, yeah, that looks like a fourth. They move on. Or that is less than a fourth. They move on. If they think it's more than fair, they trim off part of the slice until they think it's a fair share. So let's say the first person cuts it, second person comes up and says, man, it's supposed to be in fourths, that's a third. And so they move the slice to make it more of a fourth. When the last person is finished, they go through the entire line, the slice is awarded to the last person who trimmed the slice. Hence, the last diminisher, right? So the last person to slice it is the receiver of that. Because if you're cutting it up, and all of a sudden you make it less than fair, you have to take that, right? If no one trims the slice after the first person, then the first person gets it because they would be the last diminisher. So if you think about it, if you have a candy bar and you're slicing into fourths and the first person makes this mark of this is where I think it's a fourth, and everybody's like, yeah, man, that's good. Great. Then that's the slice, first person gets it, and then we would do that again. The moving knife method is slightly different. We're still using continuously divisible items and we're still using a group of people. Now we also need an unbiased referee. So maybe your neighbor comes over to help or whoever, right? An unbiased referee. So the process of this, the referee starts with a knife. Now, if you're using a candy bar, you might need an actual knife. But if you're dividing something else, this is like a fictitious knife. It's just an item that you're using as your marking piece, So we start at one edge. Again, let's use our candy bar method. So we start with the knife at one edge of the candy bar, and the referee starts to slowly move it across the candy bar, right? And as they move it across, more and more of the candy bar is being seen, and that's the slice that slowly grows. When someone in the group of people decides the current slice is fair, they say, hold up, wait a minute, and they halt the process. The referee says, great, you stopped the movement. There's your slice of candy bar. And then we go again. So then the remaining group of people they'd start at the end and they would do the same thing until someone halts. So the last person to halt the moving knife, right, they receive whatever's left. So if you're down to 2 people and somebody moves it and the first person, boop, that's kind of the idea. So the last person, I guess you don't really get to move the knife. You just get what's ever left. So both of these methods are continuously divisible items, and they both kind of work with slices, slicing and dicing, if you will.